In today's video, we'll be looking at a case that proves sometimes the real danger is far closer than anyone could ever imagine. Late at night in July 1997, it was just after midnight. Something terrible happened on a street in Southern California that was normally very quiet and where nothing important ever seemed to happen. One of the cars stopped on the side of the road when suddenly gunshots broke the silence. Although the man ran to get away, he fell down within seconds. Police arrived at a shocking scene. Someone's dead body on the ground. A woman sitting by the car in a story that didn't make sense. No one attacked at random. There was a much bigger plan behind it that started long before that night. Before we dive deeper, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always love hearing from viewers around the world. And if you're into true crime cases like this one, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. All right, let's get back to the case. Bruce Cleland was born in South Pasadena, California, on March 31st, 1954. He grew up with his older sister in a wealthy neighborhood where they had plenty of comfort and chances. His parents both had a lot of education and a lot of money. There were also strong hints that his family had been wealthy in the past. From the street, the Cleveland looked like a great example of how to be successful. Parents who are successful, kids who are well-raised, and a bright future. Bruce was smart beyond his years from a very young age, but as he got older, he quickly learned that being smart did not protect him from being hurt. He first went to South Pasadena High School in 1968. Here, the way he looked and behaved made him a target. He was teased a lot, and someone even called him Tiny Tim. People thought the person sounded a lot like Herbert Carey, better known as Tiny Tim, an artist who is known for his strange voice and strange way of acting on stage. Bruce saw the term as more than just a joke about how skinny he was and how high his voice was. The way people saw him was like that, kind, awkward, and easy to miss. Bruce would often deal with being picked on by laughing at himself instead of hitting back. Because he was passive, he rarely protected himself or showed anger. This made him easy to hurt. A lot of his high school years were marked by shyness. People around him thought he was weak because he didn't have any romantic ties and kept to himself. Behind this tough exterior, though, was a young man who was smart, funny, and faithful. His smart and kind nature helped him make a few close friends. At home, his folks, especially Harold Cleland, were always there for him. Bruce and Harold were very close. They often went to air shows and football games together, which made Bruce feel like he belonged and was stable. Bruce liked the idea of dating, but he didn't do it because he didn't trust himself. He thought that he would always be turned down, so he rarely even tried. He instead took a deep interest in schoolwork. Physics and technology brought him happiness and comfort. He became very interested in physics, math, and computers, and his hard work paid off. He was one of the best students in his class by the time he finished in June 1972. He then went to Harvey Mudd College in Claremont, California, which is one of the best science and tech schools in the country. Bruce tried drinking beer, going to parties, and making new friends while he was there, but he never let these things get in the way of his studies. He got his Bachelor of Science degree 4 years later in June 1976. He wanted to learn more, so he went to Stanford University and got a master's degree there in 1978. When Bruce was done with school, he started working. A job at General Electric in San Jose, California was his first job. Because the job paid well, he quickly had enough money to live on. Bruce didn't try to find love or luxury like many of his friends did. He instead kept a simple life and saved as much money as he could. He then became a software engineer at TRW. He did very detailed work there, and sometimes he worked on secret projects for the U.S. military. As part of a job transfer in 1987, he moved to Rundo Beach. Bruce was making over $100,000 a year at that point, which was a lot of money for that time, but he continued to live a simple life. He was known for driving old, boring cars and not caring about how they looked or how fancy they were. For Bruce, being useful was more important than being popular. He saved money, bought stocks, and made smart purchases with it, which helped his wealth grow over time. His strictness and thriftiness were noticed by his co-workers. His careful, thoughtful personality seemed to show in every choice he made, whether it was about money or something else. By the 1990s, Bruce Cleland was 30 years old or older. He looked more grown up now, and the shy kid who used to be made fun of in high school didn't have to feel bad about himself anymore. But when it came to love, he still seemed awkward. He didn't know who he was when it came to love, after years of being alone and not having much experience. Not anymore, though. Bruce met Rebecca Salcedo in late 1995. She would change his life. Rebecca was selling spices at a swap meet where they met. Bruce hadn't been on many dates before, so this was a big deal for him. His attention was drawn right away to her beauty and charm. He wasn't sure how to talk to her, so he asked if she might be interested in working for an IT business. Rebecca let him have it and gave him her resume. Bruce called her soon after and they started dating. Right from the start, Rebecca's goals seemed very clear. She asked him to marry her within a week of meeting him. Bruce had never had this much attention before, so it was both overwhelming and gratifying. With wide-eyed hope, he agreed and started his first relationship. Rebecca did not wait to introduce him to her family and her son, who was 5 years old. She said she didn't talk to the boy's dad and didn't even know who he was. Right away, Rebecca started leaning on Bruce for help. Bruce was ready to help and offered to rent her an apartment after she complained about where she was living. He outfitted it, paid for it, and gave her a car. Well, it was a used Honda at first. After some convincing, they bought a new Toyota. Rebecca always seemed to get gifts. Bruce had been saving money for years, so taking care of her felt like a sign of love to him. He wanted to give her a boat, plastic surgery, and jewelry, all of the things she asked for. Bruce thought he had found a woman with strong morals because he was new to dating. Bruce saw Rebecca's insistence that she wanted to wait to get physically close until after she got married as a sign of her strong moral character. She said the only man she had ever been with was the father of her child. That made her unique, Bruce thought, and made her worth guarding and giving up everything for. Rebecca needed some time to think about the proposal ring. Eventually, she chose a fancy diamond worth $10,000, which Bruce was happy to spend, even though he was careful with his money in other areas. But that wasn't the end of the spending. Rebecca wanted them to live together in a big house close to Los Angeles. Bruce bought a house with 4 bedrooms for $350,000, which was a huge amount of money in the mid-1990s. This couple got married legally in October 1996. Still, Rebecca dreamed of a big church wedding that was as fancy as she thought she deserved. That event was set to happen in January 1997. She said it would be better if she and her son moved into the new house first, and Bruce stayed until the church wedding. Bruce agreed because he thought it was just a custom based on love and respect. In reality, Rebecca had learned very quickly how to take advantage of his trustworthiness and desire to please. This was Bruce's first real taste of love. It was a chance for Rebecca. She knew he had never been with a woman before, so he didn't know how to manipulate them. And she also knew that he was very happy to be loved by a younger, more attractive partner. What he saw as love, she was already using against him. Who exactly was Rebecca Salcedo? What happened to her started a long time before she met Bruce. Lucy was Rebecca's mother, and she grew up in Mexico. As a young girl, she was obese, which caused her to get pregnant. Her family forced her to marry her abuse so she wouldn't have to deal with shame. But the marriage was doomed from the start. It was uneasy and uncertain, and money problems were always there. The family eventually moved to the United States in search of better chances. Rebecca was born on August 15, 1969, in California. She was the third girl in a family that was already going through a lot of hard times. Rebecca's dad left the family when she was very young. Not long after they found out he had died. Lucy had to take care of her kids, run the home, and worked to make ends meet all at once. It was expensive to live in California, and even though family helped out, money was always tight. In the end, Lucy got married again. An individual named Pedro Salcedo took her girls in and raised them as his own. Pedro brought some security. He wasn't rich, so things stayed simple. Lucy herself had mental health problems that got worse over time. She stopped being around people and left her kids to take care of the house and often do things by themselves. There was a lot of stress in the house. The sisters always fought with each other and didn't help each other out. Since there were no strong maternal figures, there were no real authorities. What they wanted, everyone did. Once she turned 13, she learned she could do what she pleased, whenever she pleased. She would rather have fun at parties and hang out with her famous friends than focus on school. It didn't take her long to figure out how much attention she could get, especially from boys. She learned to use the fact that she was pretty and brave to her advantage. Someone was always willing to assist her, reward her, or give her something. By the time she was 16, Rebecca had already made a choice that would change her life. She got married, but not because she loved the person. Instead, it was a business deal. As a U.S. citizen, she could give the man a green card which earned her $2,000, and they got married. That was the start of a habit of using relationships to get money, safety, or stability. Significant changes happened in Rebecca's life in the early 1990s. She was caught in 1991 for having illegal drugs on her, and police thought she planned to sell them. She was given 3 years in jail. It became clear around the same time that she was pregnant, and she said she didn't know who the father was. On October 22, 1991, she had a son while she was still in jail. The child was taken in by family while she did her time. Even though her sentence was longer than expected, she was freed after only 1.5 years. Bruce would never learn any of this. He had no idea about the time she spent in jail, the drugs, or her dangerous past. After many years, she had carefully kept that part of her past from him when they finally met. When Rebecca got out of jail, she had to start over with no job, no schooling, and a child to raise. You weren't by herself, though. She began dating a woman named Sherry, who used to be a police officer. Some people who knew Rebecca well thought that Sherry was her true love. Rebecca showed her love by getting Sherry's name tattooed on her leg. Rebecca, Sherry, and Rebecca's son in 1994 seemed to be the most steady and truly happy years of her life at one point. Tragically, bad things happened in 1994. Rebecca's mom killed herself because she was already having a hard time with her mental health. Rebecca was crushed by the loss. She changed the way she behaved a lot. She became grumpy, angry, and hard to predict. She got into an argument with Sherry all the time, started partying again, and started seeing other people. The relationship ended in the end. Rebecca was once again left looking for a new person to hold her life together. At that point, she met Bruce. Rebecca saw Bruce as a chance. She could tell right away that he was kind and innocent. A story that would make him think she was honest, faithful, and worthy of his love was exactly what she knew how to tell. He was the ideal target because he was rich, hadn't been in a relationship before, and was eager to believe in her. Becky didn't wait for their marriage to start. When Bruce bought them a house for the future, while Bruce stayed somewhere else until the church wedding she insisted on, she moved in with her son. The house quickly turned into a busy place. Rebecca had parties and invited her friends over. As the men came and went, she would say that they were just cousins. Whenever Bruce asked her about it, he trusted her enough to believe what she said. Their church wedding finally happened in January 1997. On that day, they looked like the perfect pair because everything was so fancy and expensive. Behind the laughs, Rebecca really felt something else. She allegedly told her friends at her bachelorette party just a few days before the wedding that she didn't love Bruce at all because she wanted the money. Hawaii was where the couple went on their vacation. Even then, Rebecca couldn't hide how much she didn't like him when she called her friends back home. She made fun of her new husband and went into cruel detail about her private life with him. The woman said it was the most embarrassing thing that had ever happened to her. Strangers found it shocking. They thought that Rebecca would change when she got married and become a good wife, especially with a husband like Bruce who was very faithful. He was faithful and kind and did everything he could to make her happy. Rebecca didn't even try to act the part, though. The marriage quickly fell apart. After her trip to Hawaii, she went back to drinking and spending Bruce's money without any limits. He either didn't want to see or believe that she had cheated on him. Bruce dreaded being at home more and more, going to work instead and leaving Rebecca to her own ways. Within 4 months, the problem could not be fixed. Rebecca opened up about wanting to get a divorce. She even lied to her friends about how much money she thought she would get, but she was wrong. California law said that Bruce's wealth, which he had built up before they got married, could not be split. She kept going anyway, determined to get rid of him. When the cops were called to their house after a loud fight in April, it was the first sign of how bad things had gotten. Bruce couldn't handle the worry any longer. Although naturally calm and soft-spoken, he didn't get angry easily. Not wanting to leave his own home was too much for him. He finally began to understand that Rebecca was only interested in money and not love when he moved out and talked to a lawyer. When Bruce and Rebecca broke up, they didn't divide their assets the way Rebecca had hoped. Bruce bought his house and made a lot of money before they got married, so the law made it clear that those things belonged to Bruce alone. When it was all over, there was only about $5,000 left to split. It hurt her feelings. Unfortunately, Rebecca did not want to give up Bruce's money. She kept using his credit cards without telling him after they broke up. Bruce was charged for designer clothes, fancy jewelry, fancy meals, spa treatments, and nights out with friends. The outside of her life looked perfect, even fancy. In reality, though, Bruce's steady pay was what paid the bills. Bruce had returned to living with his parents at this time. His lawyer told him to stay away, but Bruce was still hoping. In spite of everything, he thought that the marriage could still be fixed. As usual, Rebecca was smart enough to see this coming and started tossing around the thought of getting back together. She called him early Friday morning, July 25th, 1997, with an idea. Is it possible for them to start over? Like Bruce couldn't have asked for better news. Later that night, they agreed to meet at the restaurant where their first date had been. He picked her up and they got to the restaurant at 9:30 p.m. They were on the road again by 10:30 p.m. They went to her uncle's house because Rebecca suggested it. Her uncle had been like a father to her for a long time. It looked like everything was fine as they sat and talked. There was a goodbye, and they left around 1. Rebecca was behind the wheel when the car pulled off onto a quiet, lonely road. She told Bruce that she had to go outside and look at the tailboard. There was a shadow in the passenger seat while he was sitting there. Suddenly, there were gunshots, breaking the silence. Bruce took a punch. He sprinted out of the car and tried desperately to run, but was hit in the back by another bullet. The killer moved in close and shot him again, this time in the head as he fell. From a house close, a woman named Virginia could see the terrible thing through her window. She called the police. When the police arrived, Bruce was already dead and lay just a few feet from his car. Rebecca was sitting close to the hood and saying that she'd been hit in the head and lost consciousness. We knew something wasn't right from the start, though. She didn't get scared. She wasn't sad. She quietly told him that it must have been a theft. To make matters worse, she said her diamond ring was taken, but the police saw that some things didn't make sense. In the car, her bag and phone were still there. Bruce still had his wallet with cash in it in his pocket, and tests on his head showed no signs of damage. When Rebecca talked to the police, she seemed to be very focused on herself. Things she talked about that night, like what she wore, her first date with Bruce in the restaurant, had nothing to do with the murder of her husband. Detectives were still not sure. Background checks showed right away that the couple was not married as they said they were. People who knew Rebecca well spoke out about how much she spent, how she cheated on her husband, and how much she loved money. Then the most damning finding was made. Just 1 month before Bruce died, Rebecca quietly bought about $1 million worth of life insurance on him. The papers had his fake name on them. Rebecca would get the house, all of Bruce's things, and the money if he died. Also, the police found out that Bruce did not have any enemies. However, people who saw the crime scene said they saw a young Latino man there. Among Rebecca's phone records, Alvaro Quesada's name jumped out. His name was Joe, and his cousin Rebecca fit the description. Evidence quickly started to fit together. In his confession, Alvaro said that he was the killer and that Rebecca had asked him to do it. Jose, his brother, also said he was involved. All three guys said that Rebecca was the mastermind. In June 2000, Rebecca Cleland, Alvaro Casada, and Jose Casada were all found guilty of first-degree murder and planning to kill someone. The jury thought that the crime had special conditions, was done for money, and involved lying in wait. Rebecca is not feeling sorry for what she did. Her punishment was life in prison without the chance of parole, which she got in 2003. The California Institution for Women in Corona is still where she is being held. Two of her cousins, Alvaro and Jose, are in California state prisons serving life terms. While the decision gave Bruce's parents some justice, it didn't really bring them peace. They felt something was wrong and tried to stop their son from marrying Rebecca, but he wouldn't listen. Following the wedding, they saw his happiness and friendliness decrease as he became more isolated. He finally told her that he was going to get a divorce, but it was too late. Early in his life, Bruce was quiet and dedicated first to his studies, then to his job, and always to the people he loved. People knew him as smart, kind, and very gentle. No one who knew him expected the woman he trusted to kill him. After the fact, his dad said she planned it from the start. The story of Bruce Cleland is one of tragedy and treachery. One man's peaceful life was cut short by someone who saw him only as a means to an end. This is a lesson of how trust can be used as a weapon and how greed can turn love into something deadly. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories.